He's in the waiting room.
Yeah, is everybody in?
Everybody that I can see on the list, nobody in the waiting room right now.
Okay,
But I'll
great.
keep monitoring as we proceed. And if anybody pops in, I'll make sure they get in here.
All right, well, welcome everybody. I think we have a relatively short meeting. We do have a number of ARC applications to review. So that'll be the primary of business tonight, I think. With that, Brian will call a meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Notice I can say was posted on the trash can Sunday afternoon, I believe. So that was done, and I know, Brian, you sent out an email on Friday, so I believe notice is in order for the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And then we had a couple of sets of minutes from a couple months ago. I've taken a look at those. I don't know if Jeff and Kyle, if you've taken a look at those.
I did.
But I would move to approve both.
I'll second that.
I'm in favor.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. I think that's all set.
That's unanimously. Yep. Thank you.
And then there's about 5 or 6 ARC applications. And the most recent email you sent, I'm just going to go by that order.
Sure.
Just find that. Let's see. 17953 Saddle Road, extend rear patio in Lanai. That is Dustin Edwards. I reviewed it and it looks like it's a pretty standard extension with a screen cage. Color matches the requirements. Pavers are the standard grade pavers that we have in our driveways, I believe. Not that we even have say over that, but insurance certificate, everything looks good. So I would start it by motion to approve.
Before we go into that, I thought I had seen that, and maybe it was another one, where the insurance certificate was outdated and the business license was outdated.
It may be a different one. This one, insurance is in effect through 2025.
Okay.
And
You are correct on that, though, Jeff. There is one that did have an expired insurance certificate, but that one was one that I received from Babcock Ranch to have us push through. But being that we don't have all the information, we won't be able to review that yet. And it's my understanding that's for a homeowner that has purchased and is in the process of being transferred over. So we just are getting them all set up in the system as an owner. And once we're able to get the information we need and they're all set up in the system, then we'll be able to review that. I had thought we would be able to review that one today, but after everything that transpired today and yesterday, I don't believe we'll be able to accurately review that. So you're correct on one of those.
All right. Well, the Lanai extension with the cage was within specifications, and Joe, you were going to make a motion. I interrupted.
no problem. Move to approve.
Second that.
Passes unanimously.
All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that one passes. You might just, put a advisement on there. They're going to obviously have to move the irrigation system, and just a reminder to them to make sure that that's hooked back up by their people and operating before, they walk off the job.
Absolutely. I'll put that stipulation in there to make sure the irrigation system is either capped and moved or and then checked following the work completion.
Next one on your list, Brian, is 17962 Saddle, black aluminum fence. Let's see. I think this is Lauren Clark. It looks pretty standard to me. I would move to approve.
Their license for the business person expired.
Oh, this is the one.
I knew there
September
was one.
30th.
Yeah, I knew there was one in there. I think the insurance is expired too. I think the insurance expired 5/6.
Insurance looks good,
Yeah, insurance is good on this one through October.
but business license indeed expired. I'll follow up with that.
Yeah, the license is expired.
Which is odd because I think this is a Superior Fence one.
Yeah, they may just have an old copy of it or something. So do you want to approve it pending?
Yeah, with
provision
the
of-
stipulation. Yeah, with the stipulation that the business license has to be updated.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
with that.
All right, so I've moved to approve it, subject to them providing us with an updated copy of the guy's license, of Superior Fence's license.
I'll
Absolutely.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
Let's see here. Next one you've got on your list, 43792, black aluminum fence. Let's see.
That wouldn't look good to me.
Okay. Yep, standard black fence. Move to approve.
I'll
that.
second.
Oh, we'll let Kyle second it.
I'll second that one.
Yeah, I had two previous.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Uh,
All right.
That passes unanimously.
Uh, 43831, Cattleman's Green Lanai. Let me just double check the insurance, but
I think that was 25. I think
yeah,
they were fine and met all specifications with color and
yep. So yeah, I agree. I would move to approve this one.
I'll second this one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That passed unanimously as well.
Last but not least on these, Jeff and Karen Lewin, 43855 Cattleman, installing hurricane shutters in the front door area and in the lanai. Everything looks in order, and I would move to approve.
I will second.
All in favor? Aye.
And I recuse.
And that one passes unanimously as well.
Awesome. So I think that covers it, right, Brian? Is there anything else I missed on the current applications?
Correct. Yep, that would be it. Yes.
Okay. And then Next on the agenda is down to earth discussion, current status. For those on the call who, are looking for an update, we had a meeting. Our last formal board meeting was with DTE, and unfortunately, they didn't really do anything that I could tell to improve the situation following that meeting, and we kind of had to, over the last couple of weeks, kind of threaten to start going down the proceedings of canceling the contract, and we raised that issue with them by email and a phone call. And I think that they're starting to get the message. Obviously, we'll need to, and we will keep a close eye on everything. But I'm hoping that, there's been improvement over the last, 10 days or so since we started doing that, trying to get back on top of things with those guys. Obviously the weeding was a major issue, and I think they pulled a number of weeds and sprayed pretty extensively over the last few days. So it looks better in that regard. I know that they had someone out. Another issue was the irrigation and the browning and yellowing of lawns. That has improved, I believe, but it's still, I don't know if we need more watering or if it's just taking time to kind of kick in, basically. But we're going to continue monitoring that, and to let folks know who may not know, at the current time, Brian is doing weekly drive-throughs to check on the status of the irrigation as well as other issues in the community. So he's going to be monitoring these things, and if need be, staying on top of DTE to make sure that they're, getting the irrigation where it needs to be, staying on top of the weeding and other issues. So
I think part of it is that, we have many residents have two types of grass in their lawn, because the Floratam is nice and green and the Provista is brown. And I think it's because the Provista spreads, laterally, not vertically, and there's just not, the root system is not nearly as good as the other. So that might be one of the reasons why we're seeing some browning. Not to mention the fact that we haven't had any rain at all, but it's coming, I'm sure.
yeah, when it rains, it will pour, I'm sure, but it has been really scarce lately. So yeah, I should mention,
sorry.
Brian, do you want to kind of explain a little bit on the Provista versus the Floratam? And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of them, as Jeff mentioned, grows vertically, and then I think it's the Provista is one that grows more vertically, and these are spread throughout the community sporadically, to what I can understand from DTE, that there's not, say, one lot specific to one type of sod or one lot specific to another. It's pretty random throughout the community, is what I got from DTE. So that it could be a reason for a lot of confusion for owners, either thinking they got skipped or it's not growing right or it's being affected because their front yard could look a certain way, and being one sod in their backyard could be a completely different sod, hypothetically. So if that is an inconsistency that's taking place and causing some confusion, that is an issue, but it's something that we have to try to provide clarification on as much as possible. If we're able to, to have DTE kind of give us a better idea of which sod is in which location, that would help. But from what I got from them, they say it's just sporadic throughout the community. So it's a mix of both, evenly throughout. So unless we can get some better clarification as far as which sod is in which location, there might still be some confusion going forward and currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, it's an explanation possibly for some of what's going on. You know, if it's totally burned out because it's not getting enough water, I think either type of grass will, you know, will turn yellow or brown. So I'm not sure, you know, I think it factors into possibly, you know, the Provista grass doesn't get as tall as the Floratam grass. So, you know, it may look like that, or that type of grass may not need to be cut in certain weeks. Not that it won't be run over, but it's going to grow inconsistently, and there's not a lot they can do about that. Like the Provista grass just doesn't get as tall as the Floratam grass, and probably not quite as thick. It just grows in a different way, and you can kind of Google it and just see what the differences are. But there will be differences, and there's, you know, eventually I got the impression that the Floratam kind of eventually takes over, but it may take, you know, years for that to happen. In the meantime, you know, you could have in one lawn, you could have patches of grass that's all green, but some of it will be really short, and it's never going to grow taller because it's the Provista grass. It just kind of stays short, and the Floratam grass is the thicker and taller grass. So it's just something to be aware of, and there's not really a lot they can do to address that. I mean, either type of grass should be green. It's just not gonna, the Floratam or the Provista grass is not gonna get ever as tall as the Floratam grass or as thick as the Floratam grass. So just, you know, I think they were trying to let us know that there's only so much they can do with that, and it's just going to look different. But, you know, if it's brown or yellow, that's could be an indication there's not enough water under either type of grass. So, you know, that we're going to stay on them with regard to, you know, keeping the irrigation the way it should be. And, you know, Brian, I know you sent in a follow-up email to these guys at the end of the day today, and I'd like you to kind of stay on that. You know, they sent us a schedule for weeding that was essentially once every 4 weeks for each lot. And they would do like a quarter of the property 1 week, and then the following week another quarter, and so on for until the quarterly thing, you know, weekly thing got the whole property done. And based on the contract language, it's, you know, as needed to maintain, it doesn't say weed free, but, you know, an acceptable weed density or something to that effect. And, you know, for us, it's not acceptable to have the weeds the way they were, and we just need to stay on them. And we've rejected their kind of proposal that it be done once every 4 weeks, and said, you know, that wasn't working if that's what you guys were doing previously. So, you know, the contract doesn't specify once every 4 weeks for weeding. We expect that whatever is required to keep it to, you know, it's not going to be perfect. We know that, but it's got to be better, much better than what it was. And if that means getting additional manpower on the job or doing it more frequently than once every 4 weeks, whatever is required to meet, you know, the acceptable level, they need to do that. So we're trying to express that. Brian did that in an email, about a week ago, or end of last week. So we're following up on that, and similar in the same email, they had a pruning schedule that was once every 7 weeks, essentially, for the properties. And, you know, the schedule for pruning in the contract is essentially once a month for each property. So, once every 7 weeks is almost half as much. So, we've told them that's not adequate, and they never responded to that email from last Thursday or Friday. So Brian just followed up with a follow-up email this afternoon, and we'll stay on that.
But I think it's important. I think it's important to make the statement that we've received multiple complaints from residents. We're forwarding those complaints along with our editorial comments. As Joe already conveyed, we're not happy, with the service that we're receiving. We're not happy with some of the customer relation issues that have popped up, not getting back to folks timely. So we've addressed those things with DTE, with Evergreen. So we're listening, we're seeing those complaints. We're trying to anticipate those complaints, with Brian now coming on property at least once a week and taking a look at what the lawns and the manicuring looks like, because basic edging hasn't been done, and we've addressed that. We've addressed mowing, edging, weeding, pruning, all of those items that are most important to our residents, and keeping a manicured yard.
Yeah, and Brian, these are the live issues. So when you do come out next week, those are things to look for. I don't know, Jeff, if they did edging this week. I think they did, based on some stuff I saw in my driveway, and I think they were blowing it back, but I'm not 100% sure. But those are the kind of the 3 or 4 things to look for, Brian, with them. They're supposed to, under the contract, if they, if there's pieces of the tree, the palm trees up front that fall down, that stuff should be picked up when they're here. Like that's, I would consider debris that falls down, stuff like that. It's in the contract. The edging, the weeding, obviously the irrigation, those things are what we'd like you to keep a lookout when you're out here. And then if you see specific lawns that weren't done, or or still need more attention in those respects, note those specific properties, and let's get an email out to DTE. I guess we can do an email as well as put it in their new system. And that's the other thing we'll just briefly mention, because I don't want to belabor it, but an email did go out in case anyone doesn't get the emails. It's also on the Facebook group that, and I'm hoping this helps the whole situation as well, that DTE has this new system for work orders. If for some reason your lawn gets skipped, or you're having a problem with your sprinkler, or the edging didn't get done, or you got weeds, I'm hoping that we're trying to address all these things globally. But if your property didn't get done and everybody else's did get done, or they broke something on your property, or something along those lines, something specific to your property that needs attention, use the link system that will allow Brian as well as the board to monitor what's going on. And hopefully they have laptops in their trucks, and they'll immediately get that work order and hopefully be able to address it quickly. Even if they're on the property, that day they might be able to do it while they're still here. So there's that. All I think kind of wraps that part of it up. Just Brian,
real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would encourage all owners to take advantage of that homeowner portal. From what I've seen, it is a great system, and it allows for us to be kept in the loop with the resolutions that they offer to go directly to the homeowner, but we also receive those in our system. So when we go back and circle back on issues that need addressed, we can see the history of your unit, the work that they've done, and keep a running tab of these issues so we can have a record of them going forward. If there's any new issues that come up, we can say, hey, this was addressed, it can't be this, you know. So if homeowners, and especially with them contract verbiage stating as needed for weeding, if, you know, a homeowner goes through the portal and submits that they have a need for weeding to be addressed, I believe that would fall under the conditions of as needed, and we could get some resolution to various items, be it weeding, trimming, that can be all submitted through the homeowner portal, and we can track it, and then you'll get a resolution directly from DTE straight to you, and then we'll be able to see that resolution as well. And if there's any questions, then we can help out, or if owners weren't satisfied with the resolution, we get that resolution directly in our emails. We can immediately follow up on that with the resolution that the homeowner received. So I would, if you have a need, use that homeowner portal, start a running tab of your issues, and that'd be honestly probably the quickest way to receive resolution is through that homeowner portal, because that goes directly to DTE. So I think it's a great system, and we should, you know, really use it as much as you can, as much as you need, just to get your issues out there. So we see them as the board, and then they see them, and then they can address them. And then the board, as well as myself, will know that they were addressed.
Yep, I agree with that. Jeff and Kyle, anything further on that? The next thing I wanted to do is just go through the list of ongoing issues that Brian has in the Excel spreadsheet.
I got nothing else.
I'm good.
Okay, so real quick, Brian, we've also worked with, for the community people on the call, we've also worked with Brian and his manager to try and reorganize how things are handled by Evergreen and just get a higher level of responsiveness. And I think so far everything is looking good on that in that way as well. As I understood it from James, Brian, in the next month or so, Evergreen / Real Manage is going to be putting into effect, it sounds like something similar to what DTE has in terms of like a work order, a new website with like a work order submission.
Correct. Yes. And that will all start, I believe it's June 1st will be officially integrated. And that system is similar, but it is a lot more effective than the previous homeowner portal work order submissions, where we get a lot more detailed information and we're able to follow up a lot faster. So that system implementation will be crucial and will definitely help out with the homeowner submissions and as well as any ongoing issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'll kind of replace the manual spreadsheet that you're creating now. You know, once we get to that point, we can just have a unified system for, you know, Real Manage stuff, and then a separate unified system for all the DTE stuff. So we can just go to, you know, 2 different websites and see where everything stands. But in the interim, Brian has been providing us with a spreadsheet for any open issues, as well as including within that resolved issues. So, so in that regard, there's this B issue that's on the open issue status, I guess, at this point. As I understand it, Brian, on that one, there's bees in a box of some sort behind someone's house, but it's in common area. And are you trying to get another quote for that at this point, or?
I have not received any additional quotes yet, but I could seek them out. The only problem is I've been getting in touch with exterminators, and a lot of them don't want to deal with bees, is what I've been running into. So I'll get more quotes on that. if possible, but it's just some of these extermination companies say we don't deal with bees, we'll do wasps and yellow jackets, but if it's an actual bee nest, then that's where I'm running into some issues. And we did
Okay.
get that one quote to eradicate them, and then I know we discussed alternative methods to removing them, but I have not
Yeah.
received any more quotes, but I'll reach out to I think Kyle sent me a list of those extermination companies kind of locally, and I'll circle back on those and see if I can get any different quotes to
Okay.
get these addressed.
Yeah.
So, but that's
If
one
you
of
can't
those
come up with anything less expensive than the $400 quote you've got, I believe you have unanimous consent by email to go ahead with the $400 quote, right?
yes.
And have you Googled beekeepers?
Yes. And the one right down the road said it's not a service that they provide with nest relocation or queen relocation. The representative I spoke to pretty much gave me the runaround and said it's not something we'll do. You'll have to follow up with someone else. And then that someone else was the critter control person that I got in contact with that gave us the original quote. So the beekeepers that I've touched base with haven't been able to offer any solutions.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'm sure if we just saw, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of expensive, $400 to do it, but
It sounds
Ah.
like that's about our only option right now, and I don't want that nest to get bigger.
yeah, I think unless you make 2 or 3 more calls, Brian, and
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable, but if you can't find anything for less than 400, I think you just got to do it at this point. There was unanimous consent by email to go ahead with it. So let's just, if you can't find something else cheaper by the end of the week, just go ahead and get that done next week.
Yep, understood.
And then those sod 43747, 43741, maybe 43765 as well. There was like some sod that apparently got burned when they sprayed
Overspray.
glyphosate or something on it. So they're saying they're gonna get back to us at the end of the month.
Yeah, they said they wanted to give it a month to see if it would recover, and if it does not recover, that they would replace it on their dime. And I think it's the 20th. Yeah, May 20th. The homeowner was going to reach out to me directly, and then we can follow up with DTE for those areas if they are indeed still dead and need to be replaced. Then
Well, didn't we have a walkthrough on April 11th? Was that the date?
Yeah, what was the date of our last meeting, Brian?
yes, that was the 11th. So it has been a month.
Yeah. Tell DTE to replace it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a month, and I go by there at least once or twice a day, and it's still yellow.
It has not recovered, and 30 days is 30 days.
Yeah. All right. Yes. We'll get that to them.
And I want Greg to tell us what date it's going to be tomorrow.
Okay.
The library is in progress. Thank you to Brendan Morrison, who's working on that. Update to be provided, but nothing really to report now. I did ask him, I think it was Saturday night, I saw him at a little get together, and he said he has enough money at the present time, so that's all good. His wife had a project that bumped the library off a little bit, and it happens. So,
It does.
let's see.
Trash cans repaired.
Yeah, that's great. It looks good. The stake removal, you're going to put a separate email together for that, Brian, and send that out at some point. It's not a huge priority, but at some point. I don't remember what the quote was from DTE, what they would charge, but I would do something where, you give the community a deadline, say by June 15th at this point, or give them like 3 or so or 4 weeks to get back to you by a certain date if you want, if they want DTE to take out the stakes and let them know what the cost is per tree, and then compile a list, and then we'll get the list to DTE if anybody wants them to do it.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds good. I'll compile that and I'll circulate that notice. I'm planning to circulate it to you all by tomorrow, but I want to at least get that out by the end of the week so we can get on that for sure. So definitely
Okay.
sent out by the end of the week, but I'll circulate the notice for approval by you all and then get it sent out by the end of the week.
All right.
We also got a quote for mulch, and I can't remember what the amount was and how that compared to the pine straw.
I could probably find it, but my recollection is my best recollection is that the mulch was like $40,000 and the pine straw was like $26,000. I could, could have been 39,000,
I think it was
37,000.
30. I think it was 36, but I couldn't remember the pine straw.
I got one here for Cocoa Brown that says 28,254.
Is that for the lots only? Or is that
This
not
one's
the
the
common
homes.
areas?
This one's the homes, it says.
Okay.
Here's the estimate I'm looking at from Greg that we got in April. But
Yeah, so that would still require some pine straw in the common areas. I think the old quote was like what Jeff recalled, somewhere in the 30s, high 30s, to do everything with mulch.
Yep.
yeah, you're probably right. I'm looking at a more recent one. I'm sorry about that.
But I think previously we had talked about I could be wrong, but I think what we're thinking is trying to eventually, at least in the verges, get away from pine straw. And I don't know how realistic that is, but using the areas of pooling water as kind of the epicenter, and then expanding out from there, putting some of that golden creeper. I don't know how we budget for that and do it, but we probably need to go to the specific areas and see what's adjacent to it, and maybe not, if the existing vegetation is really thick in a given spot, we can probably just leave it alone. But if it's thin, and would be a good a spot that would ordinarily have a lot of pine straw, that might be a spot where we, do another shot of some more of the golden creeper to try and reduce the pine straw, and then over time gradually, reduce the amount of pine straw we have to do once a year. So I don't know that we need to address that right now, but just like long-term thinking. Any other specific issues on here? Anything on, I know I asked about finances, Brian, and the bottom line in your email was that basically we were on track for budgets.
Nothing going over right now, and everything seems to be lining up for where we are in the year. And but nothing nothing drastic, nothing too severe. That's out of budget or anything. So we're looking really good right now.
Okay, good. All right. Anybody else have questions? I think I see something here.
I wanted to note something that might fall under new business, might fall under established next meeting.
Yeah,
We, as directors, I think my recollection is correct, started our term end of June, basically, last year. And I'm just looking at the bylaws. I think we need to get moving on the annual meeting and election of the board, re-election of the board of directors. Because I think we have to give like 35 days notice, I think, before that meeting or election or whatever. The meeting has to happen in the same month as last year's. That would be in June. So Brian, can you look into that with James, and we need to like set that and get a notice out if that's the case.
Is it?
Yep.
Do we have to, is that an in-person meeting we have to do?
I do not know. I just know it's an annual meeting.
Okay. If
Might
you
be.
could look into that, Brian, you know, I don't
I'll get
even
right
know,
on
like,
that.
what do we have to do for the election? Is that something that we have to send out ballots to everybody, or is it?
It's, if there is going to be a vacancy, then we will need to send out ballots and have an election. But if there's no vacancy and nobody else is willing to step into the role, then we won't need to have an election. So it kind of depends, but I'll get with James on this and we'll get the turnaround on this quickly, and we'll make sure we stay on top of it. So I'll get with him right now if I can, or at least tomorrow, and we'll get on the ball with the annual meetings. And if we need to have an election, or, you know, the process that comes with this annual meeting, we'll make sure all the bases are covered for that as well. And thank you,
Yeah,
Kyle,
people,
for
people need to have the opportunity to run. It's not just a matter of that the existing board of directors, just roll over into the next year. There has to be a notification to all residents if they wish to run for any of the seats. Because these are 1-year terms, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, well, I'll get with James on this right now and touch base with him so we can make sure that we have our bases covered here and make sure this is handled correctly.
Okay. I saw a question in the chat, Chris Corsten asking regarding the tree poles. Are we responsible for the trees on the verges? Yes, the trees on the verges, I believe all belong to the adjacent property owners. So it's essentially, it's an easement pretty much. So the plants, the trees, the grass, if there were grass, pine straw, whatever's in there is owned by the property owner, the lot owner. Care of the tree is ultimately the responsibility of the property owner. So yeah, those poles should be taken down by the property owner. You can, we got a quote that was kind of high from DTE to do this additional work, so it's not in our budget plainly to have them do that. We're trying to keep our costs down. I mean, honestly, I just went out and took my poles down myself. And I'll say I've got one of those big red wire cutters. If anyone wants to borrow it, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message or stop by, and you're welcome to borrow it. But I just used one of those big wire cutters, cut off the wires and pulled the poles out myself. It took like maybe 15 minutes. So, but it's not a big deal to take them out. But at this point, it is recommended that they be removed because they're not doing anything beneficial for the trees. After like a year to 18 months, they actually inhibit the tree because they're pulling they're holding the tree down in some cases, depending on how the things are wrapped around the tree. So it could be actually harming the tree. And the wood stakes where they're in the ground, a lot of times by this point they're actually rotted out. So if we had a serious windstorm, they probably wouldn't do much because they're rotted. And at this point, the way they explained it to me, you know, your tree should have developed roots that would be sufficient to hold it up in a wind event. So for all those reasons, the practice is recommended that they be removed. Obviously, if you don't want to remove them from your tree, they're your trees and you can not remove them. But that's the recommendation from the horticulture people that we have dealt with. Anything else? Any other new business or old business? Okay, if not, pending Brian getting back to us, we'll just leave the next meeting open for right now, and then we'll figure out when we get the next ARC applications we have to deal with, and when the next meeting may be the annual meeting. So we'll wait to hear back from you on that, Brian.
Sounds good.
And then Chris Corsten is saying, I am asking to make sure because DTE already took out some of the poles on the back verges. Our backyard faces the road. Yeah,
Might have been common
I'm not
area,
sure.
too.
I'm not sure about that. So you're talking probably, Chris, about the verges along the main road outside our community.
Yeah, hi, sorry, it's Laura. I'm on his phone because I couldn't get connected on mine. Yeah, we're facing the Saw Palmetto, and I saw that they already took out the poles and all of our trees here. I'm facing like, you know, I can see about 3 gardens. So I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
whether or not those were included or not, because we can take them out ourselves. I just wanted to know.
yeah. It may have been, they may have been taken out by Babcock or Brightview, because I don't believe we paid DTE to take out any poles.
We didn't.
So I
Yeah,
doubt that they would
somebody
do
took
it.
them. I watched them do it. So
When was
yeah,
it?
nobody asked them.
Yeah,
That was
we
months
did-
ago.
Yeah, we did not pay them to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds good. We'll take care of them. No problem.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, all right, with all that, I guess we will move, I will move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you. You all too. Thank you.
My toe. Yeah, it does. It does. I did. Well, my next cleaning is at 8 a.m. on November 19th.